start this off, I just want to make sure that you have read and signed the consent form. You know that I'm recording this conversation.
I read it to the letter.
Okay, thank you. Um, so I know that you are a senior this year in high school, and I was just wondering if you know how things are going. You're about to graduate, and the end of the school year, and what's your thought process and all of that.
It's pretty surreal. We're 2 weeks away, a bit under 2 weeks away from graduating, and I'm really excited for the whole thing to join the military and get on the next step of my life. I have all my credits squared away, and I'm ready to graduate and get out of here.
Get out of here. Let's see. That's cool. I mean, what what is something like? How do you feel about these next stages of life of like actually officially graduating and taking that step, and then knowing that you're gonna travel across the country?
Yeah, it's a big step, and it's gonna be really interesting to go from the corner of Washington to kind of like the southern middle part of the United States in Oklahoma, and then hit the East Coast in Georgia, and then come back. So it's gonna be a pretty, and it's gonna be a very big, sizable chunk of my life too. It's gonna be, a 6 month trip, so it's gonna be pretty surreal to be that far away from family and everything for 6 months. So it's pretty surreal, but I'm excited for it. I'm ready to see what happens.
Um, is there any emotions that do you think that there's any like difficult emotions that you might process? Like I guess like one thing I'll say like as your mom slash counselor is that um, like I because I know you, I know that you have struggled in the past with not always being able to do everything exactly the way that you thought it would be. So, like with your perseverance and stuff, like do you think that because of all the stuff that you went through with wrestling, that if anything gets really difficult in the army and in that basic and all that kind of stuff, that you'll use that to kind of push through? Because, it's probably not going to be cupcakes and rainbows and
Well,
butterflies,
well,
right? It is
yeah,
the military.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be tough, but so is a lot of other things in life. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see, where that path kind of takes me, and I hope I can come back to Washington after 6 months with a bunch of fun stories I can tell to people and everything like that.
I think you're going to come back like, um, like a like harder. Like you're not like like you have like a softness about you right now because you are still in high school, and
Yeah,
I kind of wonder how it'll be when you come back. Like if you'll come back like a
yeah.
big
I'm
big
curious
army
if I'll
guy.
come back like as a really strong, like mentally and physically strong dude.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about it the other day, and just about like your like you're physically fit. So when you go into basic, like you're not going in like maybe some other people that come out of like I don't like video gaming or something like that, and then just go straight into having to push through that. I know that I couldn't do it. I couldn't just go like into the military and I'd die. So the fact that you're already able to run, obviously you run and
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm like, it's gonna be a completely different experience, but I think hopefully with my wrestling background, it'll be fairly, you know, I'll be fairly accustomed to it at least a little bit. It's still a completely different environment, but luckily I've been seen a lot by my recruiters in the military before I even got in, so I'm getting promoted early before I even go, and uh, so clearly they have some faith in me, so I'm feeling pretty good about it.
um what since you have 2 weeks left until graduation, like what do you have like a bucket list or anything like that for like your end of your high school career in a sense?
I've been very blessed for the past 4 years to where I've hit a lot of stuff that anything I could have ever wanted to do, I've really done already. Like, my goal was being at state for wrestling. I got to do that twice. Not even mentioning the multiple amount of times I've been to state for other sports. Um, I've done, I've been to so many school dances and done so many fundraisers and got to meet and talk with so many different people that I've really hit everything I could ever want to do around this area. I don't know if there's really anything in particular that I want to do, a month beforehand before I leave, because my graduation date's about a month before I ship out. I'm not sure if there's anything really that I want to do as a last minute, bucket list item. I kind of want to just take the summer as, we usually do and just kind of chill out for a little bit and, maybe plan out get more accustomed to the whole military lifestyle before I leave.
Learn how to put a top sheet or a bottom sheet on.
Yeah,
In
exactly.
the top bunk.
Stuff like that.
um, at school, let's see, so you just got back from state. How was that?
It was fun. Track and field is a completely different environment for different sports, and it's a super cool thing to, be a part of because, state for any sport has a different, energy to it because there's tons of people there, and it's like really, really big deal. That's where that's where the Chronicle and the newspaper's at. So it's a really big field to see, and it was really cool to see, some of my friends compete over there and help them, achieve their dreams.
Yeah. I saw that the first place winner for the girls' pole vault was 10 foot 5 inches or something like that.
Yeah.
My goodness.
That's
yeah.
I can't even do like two. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know how pole vaulters do it.
Yeah. But it's cool to see you guys do those accomplishments. And how did you feel about being Logger Bob?
The school's mascot. Yeah, I was into that. It was really fun to do. It was really fun to parade around with it on. I got tons of photos with people who wanted to take photos with me, and it was a super cool experience.
Were there other mascots there?
No, we were the only one who brought a mascot
That's
head.
pretty cool.
So we were actually laughing about that whole thing, and everyone was like, "That's genius. We gotta do that next year."
Yeah, I think it's like the hype. I've told people that know, like other parents, that you were the hype man at state.
Yeah.
Because you were an alternate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, well, he's Logger Bob, and he's the hype man. That's like I pretty much like kind of like what you are. I think wherever you go is you always kind of really fall into like a leadership role, even if you don't want to,
Yeah, it kind of happens.
I'm curious to see how these next couple weeks go for school. I actually kind of woke up with the realization of, holy crap, you're graduating in 2 weeks. And it's like time has gone by so fast these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, it's just because it's been busy. There's a lot of the last month of school is always a really busy time, or probably more like the last 2 months is always really busy because people are doing their testing, their finals, and just other end of school activities, like whatever's going on. And it really, like, every year for me, even like graduation year especially, now it's starting to realize it's coming fast, but even before that, every year ever since I was in kindergarten, like the last day of school comes and I'm like, oh shoot, it's the last day of school.
Yeah, it's like it's a surprise. It's almost like it snuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've just been thinking about how crazy it's gonna be when you're gone for 6 months. And we kind of how do you feel about just as your hypotheticals or your thinking ahead, like what is that thought process? Because when I was your age, I didn't leave. I just stayed in. I know you're coming back. You're coming back because you're in reserves, but like, what's that thought process of, what are your first plans or your first thought? Like, what do you want to do in that week that you have before you should, like, you go and then you land, right? And then you have like a couple of days or something before you go to basic.
So I leave. I leave the day before the plane goes to go hang out with my recruiter, go to a hotel, get like a nice dinner beforehand, little reserve tradition. And then I go out on the airport, get on the plane, fly out to the area where we're all going to meet up, Usually, like for example, if you're going to Fort, I think it's Fort Benning, there's like this clock tower you meet up at, and
Yeah.
that's everyone knows to me about the clock tower. I'm not going to Fort Benning. I can't comment
Mm-hmm.
on that. I don't know where we're going to Fort Oklahoma. I don't know where the landmark is to meet
Yeah.
up at, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. And then we go through the entire, uh, area of reception and processing, which can take weeks. So that's kind of the area that just kind of you have to stay in that area, and they have to do hundreds of pieces of paperwork and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And you get then you go through the actual first stages of boot camp where you get your shots, 100 shots where
Ooh,
you're
do you have to get the
immune.
COVID shot?
Probably, if I had to make a guess, you get every single shot until you're immune to every disease
Yeah,
known to
because you don't
mankind.
know where you're gonna go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there isn't really any like bucket list items I want to cross off. I just kind of want to.
Well, I guess you can't really, right? Because you have to go there and like pretty much stay with your.
I mean, yeah, they're not really gonna let me leave.
Right.
Plus, I mean, even like, there's not really anything. It's like it's not like I'm going to Oklahoma because it's like, oh, I want to
A
go.
vacation.
I want to go lay around in dirt. Like that's not my. It's not my goal.
I think there's more than just dirt in
Yeah,
Oklahoma.
I don't want to lay around in dirt and like feel the wind. Like that's not
Yeah.
my. It's not my gig. I'm there because I want to, go through that route. And that's just happened where they wanted to send me.
Yeah.
So and same thing in Georgia. Like I'm not going to Georgia because there's a landmark that I need to do in Georgia. It's just that that's just where the journey is taking me.
I think one thing that'll be really weird for you is the time difference because it's 3 hours difference.
The time zone difference.
Yeah, having
definitely
that
will
jet
be.
lag and then
Yeah.
having to kind of like process a new environment because you're going not only to like it's not like going to like from here to Seattle or something, you're going to like a different state where like the only people is your I don't know, like will you probably whoever is flying out with you because I'm gonna assume that there's others that are gonna be on the same airplane as you that are going to the same place.
Well, yeah, it depends because sometimes you'll run into people. From what my recruiter was telling me, you'll run into people at the airport who kind of look like they're also going to the military.
They also kind of look like they're lost.
Yeah, they all kind of look like they're lost, and they're like, you'll be like,
Lost
"Are you
puppies.
shipping out to Fort Sill?" And it's like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh, that's awesome. Maybe we're gonna get in the same platoon,"
Yeah.
which you're not because there's so many different platoons that
Yeah.
that's like the likelihood is super low, but it's still a possibility. This wishful thinking, but yeah, I'm basically only gonna be knowing. I'll have to get really used to the people at basic and AIT because like people I'm gonna be hanging around with for 30 weeks. So
Yeah, for somebody who likes to have his alone time sometimes, what are you gonna do?
well,
How you gonna get through that? You're basically surrounded by
I'll just
everybody all the
I'll
time.
just take pleasure in lights out time and just lay in bed. And then for AIT, like you still share bunks, but it's still a little bit more. It's like again like it's like college for the military, so like it's a little bit more.
You've grown up in a bedroom with two other brothers, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
you've been, I don't know, like acclimated to. I think it's probably a lot different though when you're surrounded by a bunch of people you don't know.
Yeah, well, luckily in AIT it's a little bit more like relaxed and more lenient. Like I can go off base and go get food or
Yeah.
hang out around town, like explore Georgia if I really wanted to. Like maybe I could take if there's like a 3-day pass or like a weekend or something, then I could go over to Atlanta and just see what's going on over there.
Yeah.
But even if we have like a 4-day pass, like something crazy like that, I could go to a neighboring state or something, which would be really fun to
You
see.
could you could just drive to Tennessee, and go to Nashville.
Yeah.
It's a day trip.
So yeah, if there's like bucket list items that I decide that I want to do by the time I'm there, because I can't think of any right now,
Yeah.
but I'm sure after being at AIT for like 15 weeks in, I'm sure if they gave me a 4-day pass, I'd be like, I'm gonna go take
You're
a little
like,
trip.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just go.
I'm gonna take a little trip.
Go have like fast food or something.
Yeah.
I remember when my mom and I, like when I lived in Tennessee, my mom and I took a day trip down to Georgia just because we could, because like the states touch, and so she's like, "Are you bored? Do you want to do something? Let's go to Georgia." And I'm like, we had no real destination. We just wanted to cross that border so we could check it off of our list, and so
Yeah, check off the map.
you'll be
Yeah.
able to kind of do that because the states are all close together down there more than up here.
Yeah.
And
Like my bucket list items don't really consist of Oklahoma and Georgia. They consist of stuff when I come back, like
Yeah.
when I'm in JBLM, because I was actually talking to my station commander in JBLM, and he was like, you know, you really, because he's a cool dude, and he was like, you really lucked out. I was like, why?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, because by the time you come back for your annual training, or by the time you come back, our annual training will be available, which you have to do one eventually in the year anyways. But he's
Yeah.
like, if you want to just come back real quick and do it, we're going to Japan pretty much right when
Ooh,
you,
that sounds fun. You should
yeah.
do that.
He was like, right when you come back, we'd basically be shipping off for Japan. So if you wanted to come for 2 weeks, and do that, you can. And
Are you gonna do it?
I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, like that sounds awesome, but that means I kind of have to stay on base all the time because
Yeah, but
I
it's
don't know
only a
the
couple of weeks, and it's like it's really not that far of a drive. Like we could come visit you at JBLM, you know,
yeah
and come and do like a family day. We can all get on base.
yeah
We'd have to have a reason, you know. We can't just go there for no reason. But since you would be there, we can go visit. Um, and honestly, like you've always wanted to go to Japan. I know it's a little bit different than you know
well
going there for a vacation.
I've never really been a like I'm not a huge enthusiast of going. I do want to go explore other countries. Japan's cool, but I'd also want to go to like Korea, because I want to see I want to see South Korea. I want to see the DMZ, with North Korea.
Yeah,
I want to see everywhere. Like I want to see European countries too. China. I want to go China. I'll just go to everywhere.
yeah.
Let's just go with that.
That's why
Let's go.
I kind of feel like I was curious about why you did the reserves, and I know it's like to be closer here and have your home base be here, which I am very happy about. But I also don't want you to settle for, not going out there and exploring the world like you wanted to. So
Well, yeah, and that's why I went with the reserves also because at any point I can switch over to
yeah,
active if I really wanted to, if I really wanted to go on this trip. Like I already talked to the commanders about that. They were like, "Yeah, if you ever want to go active, just let us know and we'll sign the paperwork and you can get sent
yeah,
off."
yeah. I definitely think like um, it's a great opportunity for you to kind of think about the prospect of going somewhere for a while. And like right now, you have that choice. Unlike, if you did sign up for active duty, you just kind of wait until they tell you where you're going. And for you, I think, like you tend to like to have a plan, or at least something like before you do something. Like you're very much like
Yeah.
kind of research it first, like me. And I don't know. I think it'd be cool about if you were to go to Japan and you know, but you have to go active for that.
No, they just said because reserves you do annual training 2 weeks out of the year.
Mm.
So 2 weeks of the year you're active duty, and then you're on duty 1 week in a month for the rest of the year. So they were like, for 2 weeks, if you wanted to, you can come out to Japan and we can, because the people at JBLM are a lot of people in the army say that people in JBLM don't do real military work.
Yeah.
Which that's I'm sure they do, but they say like even the station commander I was talking to was like, yeah, we like going out to Japan and like Texas for our annual training because we don't really like hanging around here too much.
Yeah.
So like if we have an opportunity to leave base for annual training, we do it all the time. So like
Yeah.
they, especially in Washington, JBLM, they go everywhere like because Japan, JBLM, and Hawaii have a really close, like almost triangle
Yeah.
relationship with each other because there's lots of bases there on all of them, and
Yeah.
Washington's on the coastline. So literally, they do their annual training in Japan, Hawaii, and everywhere. So like any 2 weeks out of the year for whichever month I wanted to do, if they were doing it like in October, they were going to Hawaii for their annual training. I would just wait until October, and then I could just go to Hawaii for my
Yeah.
annual training.
I wonder if you can sign up for extra annual training if you just want to go to.
It depends because usually they'll offer like because you're required weekend drill is 2 days
Yeah.
of work, so that's a total of 4 drills, so you get 2 days worth of pay.
Yeah.
Uh, but sometimes they'll say, "Hey, we need you here for 4 days," and they'll pay you for that. And then they also say if anyone wants to, they'll say if anyone wants to come here for this day and get paid extra,
Really
you
fun.
can.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't be opposed to because I'm gonna be in by the time I come back from AIT and come back to Washington, my college, like my time in service will already almost be a year, so I'll be able to get my college benefits.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I think the only part that would be difficult about doing those extra trainings is if you're working, but I do know that they can't replace you. Like if you're doing something for the reserves, they have to keep your position.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
that's
obviously you
written in
have to give them like a time frame that you're leaving. You can't just be like, "Oh, hey, I'm not showing up. I'm going to Hawaii." But I don't know. Maybe you could because
yeah.
the army thing.
It's written in my contract actually. My
Yeah,
recruiter or my contract guy who was making my contract. I don't know what title he has, but I don't know what they call their contract
yeah,
makers in the army. But the guy who was making my contract was explaining it, and he was like, "Yeah, as long as you give them, notice beforehand of where you're going to be and what you're going to be doing, they legally, because of the, a military act that was passed a
yeah,
little bit ago, they can't replace you or they can't fire you because of they actually can't fire you for anything military based. So as long
yeah,
as you have like even if I was deployed somewhere and then came back, I can't get fired because of
yeah,
the deployment. If I had to leave, even if it was super short notice, like even if I literally was working and they called and said, "Hey, we need you at base," and I just left my shift, they literally could not fire me.
yeah,
They could only fire me if it was something that was non-military related,
yeah,
out of my control, which is a really, a pretty good benefit I don't think a lot of people know about.
yeah. So I mean, I think it'd be pretty cool for you to go to Japan. You know,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it'd be cool for stuff like that to go to other countries and, you know,
and no, like you'd be able to go and have a return date.
yeah,
It's like not a, like a
it's not a
we don't know.
permanent. Yeah, because it's not like deployment where you get sent there and you're
Yeah,
like,
for like months on end.
yeah, you for months on end. You're like, we're gonna deploy you for a year. It's like, okay, when in the year?
Yeah,
Like, and then all of a sudden a year turns into a year and 2 months, and
yeah.
then like, they're like, all right, whatever.
I feel like
Yeah,
there could be a possibility of that happening because you don't know what like what might like the future might hold going somewhere. But like I do think that usually when they plan a 2 week training, it's a 2 week training. Like that's not really the time to. I mean, unless like something crazy happened and like bombs were going off. Like obviously you guys would have to like get into gear, but that's what your trainings are
well,
for. Like that would be a real training
yeah, my
session.
station commander was talking about that, and he was like, yeah, we go there for 2 weeks, but sometimes the like station is like, yeah, we want to stay there longer, and they'll talk to the base over there, and then the other because the base is run heavily
Yeah,
by both Americans and also Japanese because they're intermixed.
yeah,
It's literally their land.
yeah,
We just have a base there, so like it's very mixed area, and like yeah, they're really cool with it. Like they'll stay there for a few extra days if they're allowed to, and then
yeah,
they'll head over. And they were actually talking to me because my position was a very valuable position. Uh, Apparently, not a lot of people are becoming 25 U's, so they were like, "Yeah, you're probably gonna get thrown everywhere." To be
yeah.
honest,
That's
like
cool
anytime
though.
you go to annual training, he's like, "You're probably gonna be asked to go everywhere. You'll probably go from here to Japan. You'll probably just go like between the
I think
triangle
it's
all the
good.
time." He's
Yeah,
like, "You'll go probably like for annual training and then especially if you went active and you stayed in this area, you would just jump from like plane flight to plane flight from
mm-hmm.
Hawaii to Japan to Washington all the time."
Yeah. Do
And
you
I
think
was
you
like,
could
that'd be
handle
pretty
that?
funny. Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be
yeah.
fun.
I think it'd be fun for you.
It'd be fun to like explore different areas, and then I don't know, like maybe buy a home in Hawaii and then rent it out to people and
Mm,
stuff like that. Maybe rent out some like Airbnb, some retirement home, and then make a retirement home like
yeah. Oh,
there.
can we use it?
Yeah,
Can we go on vacation to your?
you literally, yeah, literally, you
That'd be.
could. I
Yeah,
like,
I approve of that.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
I was thinking about it. What are your bucket goals or like your goals for after you get back? Because since you do have the prospect of going to Japan, obviously, like, um, and since your reserves, you know, is your plan to like go to college right away? Is it to just get a job or get a car and just kind of like chill out or?
So I joined the military to stall, because I don't know what I want to study in college, and I feel like a lot of high schools on Alaska is really good about it, but I've noticed a bunch of times in previous schools that I've been to, like college is kind of shown as the only true option, and I think that
Yeah.
a lot of people don't realize that they have a lot more stuff. And by the time like junior year hit, I realized I was like, I have no clue what I'd want to study. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought, yeah.
I think that's really a big decision to make really young, and that's a very costly decision to make super
Yeah.
young. And if you end up getting a degree in something that you really can't
Yeah.
utilize later, or you're 3 years into college and you change your mind, you're like, this is not who I am, this is
Yeah.
not who I want to be, and everything like that. So I joined the military so that by the time, hopefully, after I come back from deployment, I'll have my college benefits. I don't have to use them right
Yeah.
away, but hopefully afterwards I'll figure out kind of what I want to do and what I want to study. And then if I ever wanted to just get a degree solely for the purpose of turning into an officer,
Yeah.
or if I wanted to get a degree to actually pursue a second job outside of the military, I could do either of those options.
Yeah.
So when it comes to bucket lists or goals I have when I come back, the only bucket list item I have is coming back, getting the educational benefits, and then just kind of seeing where things take me from there. My goal is just go to the next step of everything. Like that's been my entire
Yeah.
life. Is
Yeah.
just
Your
go to
life is.
the next thing, next thing,
Yeah.
next thing. Like
You're the
let's
trailblazer.
so what now? Let's
Yeah.
let's go. So I'm ready for that. Maybe I'll make continue because my game mod has been going pretty good and everyone seems to like it. So maybe I can go to school and learn about that and make my own stuff. Maybe make
Yeah.
games as a little side hustle, side money, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I'm excited to see like how you grow and what your life becomes because you've always been the like go getter. Like I've something I've noticed about you is like when you say that you're going to accomplish something, like everybody else around you could have doubts or questions, or even sometimes I've found myself questioning things sometimes like, are you sure? Are you sure that's what you want to do? Like that's like a big thing, and then you always do it. And it might not, always be in the time frame that you initially expected it, but you do wind up accomplishing your goals. So I do see that, like, you know, you have a good future. I think,
Yeah, I mean, I'm really a big believer in, go, if you want something in life, go take it.
yeah,
If you want something in life, go for it. I told you at the beginning of wrestling season, I wanted to become league champion.
hmm
That was my goal. At the
and
beginning,
then you
at the
topped it.
yeah, and then I managed to top and become regional champion and top 8 in the entire state, and that's a really big thing that I'm really proud of.
Yeah,
Especially walking into the regional tournament when I was super sick and I didn't think I was becoming
hmm
regional champion at all. I thought
yeah,
I didn't even think I was making it to stay. I'm be honest,
yeah,
but uh, yeah, it's really important to kind of if you want something in life, go work for it, go get it because no one's gonna give it to you.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited to see to look back. Even we have a video now, and like in a year or two from now, to look back and be like, oh my gosh, that was me at the end of my high school.
Coach Hoppy, my track and field coach, was talking to me about that and was like, yeah, I want you to remember this conversation in the van right because we were talking about my military stuff and what I expected to
Yeah,
see, what I was expecting out of it. And she was like, I want you to come back and watch it, come back after the winter time and come to the track and field practice, the first practice we have, and I want you to tell all these people like compare the story now to when you
yeah,
get done with it because I'm really am curious on if it was everything you thought it was going to be or if it's different or
yeah,
things you've learned along the way and maybe tell other people the pros and cons of the military and what your
yeah.
personal opinion is of it. So I think I'm going to be doing that too.
Okay, I'm gonna end it because they're back, and I don't want the craziness. But thank you for this conversation and for
Thank you, Madam Counselor.
yeah, Madam Counselor.